Hello, everyone, and welcome to this amazing talk brought to you by Logitech G. This talk is called Accessibility in Gaming, where it's a conversation between four opinion leaders to discuss accessibility in gaming, the games and technology that stand out as the gold standard in accessibility, what developers can do to make their games more accessible, and their hopes for the future of gaming and accessibility. My name is Steve Saylor, and I'm joined with three other amazing content creators and voices in the accessibility space. So Kennedy, why don't we start off with you?
Hi, I'm Dynamic Reactions, aka Kennedie, either or. I'm a content creator / music producer. I stream on Twitch and I do reaction videos on YouTube. Yeah, we talk about accessibility on my stream a lot. Accessibility in gaming is something that's real important. I have CP personally, so motor accessibility is super important for me in my stream setup and in the games that I play. So yeah, real happy to be here.
Awesome. Jay?
Hey, I'm Jay Justice. I've been streaming for only a couple of years, but I've been gaming my entire long life. And I've been working in gaming and the comic industry, literature, like promotions, marketing, editing, consulting, all that stuff for 10 years. And with me personally, because I have a disability that also affects motor functions and connective tissues, it's really a different experience going from gaming that expects you to suddenly, to be able-bodied all the time, and games that are like, oh, we think that there might be a way to make this game more accessible, to this game was built explicitly to meet the needs of as many people as possible, to be inclusive. And like, it's so rare to find that, but we're getting more and more people who are interested in creating games that are for everyone. It's not just the bumper sticker, oh, gaming is for everyone, but like, it can be a company motto. It can be something that actually affects people. So everything I do work-wise in all industries I work on is to get to that point.
I love that. Chris?
Hey, everybody. My name is Chris. You all know me as DeafGamerTV. I've been gaming, since I was 3. Started with Super Mario Brothers. On the NES, of course. Streaming on Twitch. Also, I do advocate for game accessibility for deaf and hard of hearing gamers and that entire community. And I really want to help different game companies to really get it, to understand our struggle and how to make their games more accessible for us. And I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. And I'll talk about myself. I'm Steve Saylor, aka Blind Gamer Steve. I've been working in the gaming industry as an accessibility consultant on a few video games, as well as an accessibility advocate. I stream on Twitch, and I also create content on YouTube, and essentially just kind of talk about my own disability, which is considered low vision or visually impaired, but I do call myself blind, and essentially it would also be considered legally blind to a certain degree, but I advocate for more than just blind accessibility and just kind of for overall accessibility in games, because that is super important. So we're going to start off the conversation today with sort of just some kind of like quick questions. There's kind of like some icebreakers, if you will, just to kind of get us started, because I'm actually kind of curious about this as well. So Chris, we'll start off with you. If you were a game character, who would you be and why?
I would say Sora from Kingdom Hearts. And I would choose Sora because, one of his quotes is that, it says, "My friends are my power," right? It made me think about a real life situation. In real life, people battle with depression, mental health issues, and you can't do that kind of stuff alone. You need help, maybe therapy, friend support, just something to boost you up and keep you going, to lift you up, right? And so that is why I think I would pick Sora.
I love that. I love that so much. All right, Jay, same question. If you were a game character, who would you be and why?
Amanda Shepard, because she's awesome.
I mean, that's pretty much anything else that need to be said. I mean, FemShep, sure, yeah, 100%.
All right, I can see where your concerns are coming from, Williams, but this is a multilateral mission. You're gonna have to work with aliens, like it or not.
Kennedy, how about you? If you were a game character, who would you be and why?
Gosh, Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank, because he has the best weapons in any other video game that I've ever seen, and I am a bit of a sociopath.
Wow, okay, we're really getting into the deep end of this conversation. I love it. That's amazing. For myself, this was actually kind of hard because there's I love a lot of different characters, but for me, I probably would go with Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell, because I want another Splinter Cell game, but then also I love being able to kind of use sort of the different sort of spy vision just to try to be able to find my way around and be able to sneak around and be stealth, and I just love those kind of games. So that I know that seems weird to have a blind character being someone who needs to do stealth or is a spy, but I just love that character, so we're gonna go with that, because also I mean that's just also technically my number 2, because FemShep 100%. Yeah, so I agree with you.
Quiet down here. Quiet and dark. Great place to hide a body.
Oh no, please! I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Now with the kind of the icebreakers out of the way, let's just jump into the meat of our conversation, which is in regards to accessibility. What is the first game that made you feel like that your needs for accessibility were kind of being taken into consideration, or at least games that felt like, oh my gosh, this was kind of created for me to a certain degree? Chris, why don't we go with you?
Man, there are so many that I want to talk about right now, but if you have to pick one that really got me, I think I would probably pick The Last of Us 2, I think. Reason for that being, that was the first time since I've been a gamer growing up. I've seen many different games, right? Lots of different accessibility options, but it had so many in this one game. Some games tend to have a few simple options, right? Some might have some audio options, and that's nice. Some might have a couple video choices over here. But The Last of Us Part 2, it was almost like everything was there, and it was all in this one game. And that is the first time that I've really seen something of that magnitude.
That's awesome. You know me, Chris, we go way back 100%. That game, 1000%. I definitely agree with you on that one. Kennedy, what about you?
One of the first games that I streamed was Last of Us Part 2. And I was going through the settings and I was like, motor? I was like, you could literally see my reaction on stream. No one was watching me at the time. I was like, wait, this is for me? All these? I was like, wait. I was like, okay. So from that point on, I was like, okay, so literally nobody has any excuses anymore. This is a new standard. If they can do it, then all these other studios can do it as well.
I love that. That's such a good answer. Oh, I love that reaction too. That's amazing. Jay, how about you?
The first game that really, that wasn't a frustrating slog of how many hours can I play before the pain in my hands gets to be too much and I just can't play anymore, was probably for me, and y'all have already said Last of Us Part 2, so I'm gonna pick a different one. Although that's it, because Part 1 had no target assist and that just kills the man. I just couldn't do that one no more. But Control has really, really helpful settings for me personally, and it made the game so much more fun because the combat was not just agony, and you didn't have to grip the controller quite so hard. You didn't have to hold down the keys. You could just tap it and then move on, and it wasn't the kind of game where the combat will just make my hands hurt. So yeah, I love Control. I own Control on every possible console and anything else these people make, because they had for other games of that nature, more extensive accessibility controls than I've seen. My one quibble is that I don't like how they shame you for picking them. I don't like how a lot of game companies have a warning message that say that, this is not the baseline experience. Are you sure you want to be able to play this game? I'm like, Yes. Don't make me feel bad. Just let me enjoy the game. My goodness. So yeah, other than that, great. But like that message did not need to be in there. That was too much.
I thought we were the same. What if we are?
Next question I have, in kind of leading into what you were talking about, Jay, in regards to assist mode, I kind of want to talk about some of the accessibility and features that we see in games. So I just want to say, like, in games that would need it, what are features and accessibility options do you love? And Jay, I want to come to you because you did mention assist mode. Is that something that you do enjoy, or are there other options that you would prefer?
Oh, I absolutely enjoy assist mode so much because I have a degenerative disability. So when I was younger, it was like, oh, okay, she just needs a little help, but she'll get through it. And now it's like, I've experienced games as someone who was less impacted by the disability, and now I'm someone who's extremely impacted by the disability. And the video games that I'm playing now are putting more effort into it, but I'm like, nah, y'all can do better. Like there's so many people who want to be able to play these games, and they're ignoring a massive amount of the market. And for why? Like, it's just going to be something that makes the company do better overall. I think that they need to have modifiable captions. They need to have high contrast backgrounds for all captions, because I'm sitting here moving my character around the screen trying to get the captions to appear on a part of the screen that's not white. Because there are people who have auditory and visual processing problems at the same time, and we're like out here just trying to make it.
I agree with that for sure. Are there any others?
Right? Like, dude, oh my gosh, I could talk all day. I don't want to hog the microphone too much, but we'll focus just a little bit on the whole triggering system. Like, we all wish we had the accessibility controller for Xbox, but not everyone can afford that. So we're still trying to use the controller, and anything that requires you to hold a trigger down for longer than 5 seconds is punishment. That's too much. You need to just be able to toggle it in the settings that one tap after having pressed L1 should be able to do repeated fire. Like, in those kind of games, there's no reason why we can't remap the controls, and there's no reason why the PC version of this game shouldn't be heavily moddable so that you can use different inputs for it. Like, I've seen so many players struggle with the fact that, I used to be able to mod this game so that I could use a different controller that works for me because I can't use my arms, and yet now they've made the frame rate so high that it doesn't work with my computer anymore. Like, what? So yeah, there's a lot of stuff they need to work on, and then you can hire consultants, because if you pick someone to consult on this game who has lived experience with these products, you're going to make a better product, period. All right, let me stop talking now. We got some other people on the panel who want to speak.
Sure. No, I love that answer. I love that. And you mentioned captions, so I'm gonna jump to Chris, because I know that is something that you're concerned about, but also as well, kind of expand on that. What are some options that you would love to be able to see in games that do need them?
I mean, obviously captions, right? Obviously captions, and not teeny tiny little bitty words on the screen. I don't like those at all. I'm trying to play on my bigger TV. I don't want to have like a 24-inch screen or something. It's like you got to make it big enough to see it no matter what screen you're playing on. So adjustable size, adjustable background, contrasting colors, maybe choosing where to put them on the screen would be helpful. Visual cues, I think, are very important. Most of the time, games tend to use a lot of audio cues, and I'm deaf. I don't know what's happening if it's just an audio cue. I don't know if, I'm walking along and then someone's behind me and I don't know, being chased, being shot at, I don't know, right? So it would be nice to have way more audio cues or visual cues, because if you wanted to have something on screen, if somebody can hear something, that's great, but you got to have it fair. So there needs to be something so that deaf people can see it too, or maybe even feel it perhaps. I mean, whatever, something besides audio.
So Kennedy, how about you? What are some options and settings that you would love to be able to see more of in games?
Obviously, more customization when it comes to captions. Like, I would love personally, because I feel like it's not addressed enough, and it's always stuck out to me ever since someone came in my stream and said something, because I have the open dyslexia font on my captions, and someone came in my stream and was like, thank you for having the dyslexia font on your captions so that I can read them. I'm like, why isn't this a standard in all our captions, not just across video games, but across all media? Because people don't normally think about that. Like, I just saw the option, I clicked on it to see what it was, and I was like, oh, accessibility for everybody. Got it. But another thing that I would really like to see is in Ratchet and Clank, there's a setting where you can slow down like the speed of the game. It was so helpful to me during like the racing points and like the little mini games. It was really helpful. So I would love to see that in other games as well.
1000%. I am with you. I played the Ratchet with the game speed turned down, and it was the only way I could be able to play and actually like go through the entire game. So I yes, having that is a great option.
Give a big welcome to the Grand Marshals of our parade, Ratchet and Clank.
For myself, I mean, I'm gonna echo all y'all and say, yeah, captions. They need to be better, and not only just in regards to providing dialogue for the main story, but also dialogue for the NPCs. If you're walking around in a large city and there's a ton of people around you, and you can hear them in the environment, but you have no idea what you're saying if you can't hear it and it's not in the captions. So 1000%. But then I think for myself, even personally, I mean, there's a ton of obviously that would be great. Like some like menu narration, like for pretty much every piece of text that's on screen. But I'm also gonna say, and this is kind of just in general, can we stop with the small text in games? I would love to be able to see a game that has the ability to be able to adjust font size, and especially now that we're going to get into cloud gaming, and that's going to be a thing where we're going to be able to play games on our phone, having it's going to move from a large screen down to a smaller screen. So it's really going to be something that is going to be a bigger issue moving forward. So I would love to be able to see at least an option to be able to adjust the font or the UI, because that would help a lot. And yes. Yes. So let's move on, and we're gonna ask actually kind of more kind of go into the development kind of side. And so what kind of questions should developers be asking to make their games more accessible? We kind of talked about options that we want to be able to see in games. So what questions should on the developer side be asking us to be able to make their games more accessible? Kennedy, why don't we start off with you?
I mean, first of all, just make sure, are you consulting any disabled people on your team, first of all? And do they vary in the spectrum of disability? Because everybody's going to have a different experience. And it's best that you consult a good number of us rather than just one person, because one person cannot speak for the whole. We aren't a monolith,
100%. So now let's actually move on into I guess the kind of the representation for accessibility, because we're starting to kind of see that now, where there are definitely games that are starting to have accessibility representation. So why do you think representation within game characters is such an important part of improving accessibility as a whole? And if you can think of it, what are some standout games that feature disabled characters? Chris, what about you? Is there any games that you think it stands out for accessibility representation, and why do you think that it matters and it could be able to improve accessibility as a whole?
Representation in gaming is very important. So recently, Spider-Man, the Miles Morales edition, there was a girl character, I believe her name was Haley, and she was deaf. She was a deaf character in that game, and she signed ASL in that game. That was the first time I've seen a full conversation in sign language in a game. I was just, man, my eyes were just so open. I was just shocked, and I just was stuck for words. I didn't even know what to do or say when I saw that happen. I just was like, wow, really, really nice to see representation like that. And I would like to see even more of that kind of representation. Is really nice.
So I find for myself, trying to be able to find a blind character in a game is very hard, and without sort of thinking about a blind character that has like sort of other senses that are heightened to be able to compensate for their lack of vision, essentially. And like, we don't need another Daredevil or gaining superpowers, and the fact that we're all like, the person's blind is kind of super enhanced with other things. I don't want that. But there was one character that I did connect with in actually Far Cry New Dawn, Grace Armstrong. Actually, she was in Far Cry 5, and I actually had like, she's an NPC that you can have as brought on as one of your companions in the game. And I had Grace actually play with me throughout the entire game of Far Cry 5. I just loved her character so much. And then in the events between 5 and New Dawn, somehow she became blind, and she was a badass in 5, like a real amazing badass. And I like, and to see that she was not only in New Dawn, but that got to see that like she had developed blindness, but that didn't let her stop, like it didn't stop her from being able to like contribute to the world that she's now in. And she was able to create some amazing, like really cool weapons, and was like that had sort of like enhanced sort of my game and my gameplay, because I was like, oh, I need to have this weapon, I need to have this weapon. And the fact that Grace was able to kind of like utilize that and just use the skills that she had, and it just didn't matter the fact that she was blind. Yeah, she couldn't go out on patrol as much anymore, but she was able to contribute by making some amazing, like just out there wacky weapons, like being able to shoot a chainsaw blade like at people is just like a hacksaw. Like, I'm just so cool. And I want more characters like that have a lot more depth to them, and just then of just the fact it's like, okay, this person's blind and this is how they're able to like get around the world. Because that's, to me, I think is sort of like a two-dimensional character.
Keep the gun. Like I said, my eyesight ain't what it used to be. Figure you'll get more use out of it than I will.
And that goes to show like why accessibility representation is so important, because it's like, it allows me to be able to see myself in a character, and it allows me to connect with a character more. And I want to like, we're lacking in it right now, I think, in general, for accessibility representation, but it's starting to get better. And I just want to see more of that. I want to see inclusion in pretty much every game. And I think that even just beyond accessibility as well. Good.
About time you young guns stepped up to the plate. Name's Grace. And if I wasn't blind as I'd be fighting right beside you.
So now let's kind of jump to kind of like your own personal play style, and what like what you use to be able to kind of allow you to be able to play games and do what you do. So Chris, we're going to start with you. So what equipment helps you feel connected and immersed in your gaming and streaming and all the stuff that you do?
Most of the time, I use a lot of haptics. I have some vests.
Ooh.
So they vibrate when you put them on, and it helps me feel like I'm in the game. Like especially for horror games, or shooters, RPGs even, because they tend to use music for battles, right? And so that'll kick in on the vest. And it's really nice to just feel different activities in a game translated into that haptic feedback. It really helps a lot. So that's a really nice thing to have. Also, I have an LG, whatchamacallit, the color thing, the, what is it called? The 560, the light sync device. So it's like, it uses lights, and then they get flashed to get brighter and dimmer along with the game. Things are happening, so that's pretty cool. I wish it had even more specific control. If I could use it on, on the PS5, on the Xbox, but it works beautifully on PC right now. I wish it had more applications. You can pick different colors, and these colors will represent different things that are happening, like whatever you pick. Like any specific action that'll pop up, it'll flash that specific light. So it's a really nice thing to have.
Awesome, I love that. I didn't know about those lights. That's really cool. Jay, what about you?
I feel like I don't really have anything that specifically like helps Jesus.
I mean, Jesus, yeah. I mean, sure. I love that. I mean, he helps everybody, right?
I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's rephrase that then. So what are some technologies that makes things easier, more comfortable for you? I mean, if you want to throw Logitech in there too, that I think that could help.
I don't know what you mean. It helps me to have like really long posable like gooseneck things to put all peripherals on, so I don't have to reach too much because my joints will be like, why? Every time I try to do anything. So just having a compact workspace is really important. So everything is adjustable and I can get the whole situation set up so that once I'm in the chair, I don't have to move, because minimizing physical activity, I guess, when you know that you have to be working for a couple of hours is the best thing to do, because like when you have joint disorders, like one bad fall, I'm like, well, I guess I'm not doing anything for the rest of the week. So I try really hard not to, do too much before I'm ready to do all the things. And I think it's just a combination of like time management and managing your space the best you can. Because sometimes you can't really tell how many spoons you're going to have, but you can try to use the spoons from yesterday to like make the most out of tomorrow's spoons, if that makes sense.
I love that. I'm going to need to learn from you, like how to be able to like borrow spoons from yesterday, because that would help a lot.
That's basically what I do. Like Wednesday and Thursday, I don't stream. I just try to get everything ready for the weekend.
I love that.
Yep.
I think even for myself, I think the one that I use the most definitely would be I have a large. You can't see it in my camera now, but I actually have like a large 50-inch TV that is sitting in front of me that is literally about like a foot and a half, basically where my fingers are close to the camera. That's where my TV is. And I use that as my computer monitor and my gaming TV. And essentially I use consoles. I use the magnifier or zoom that's built in the consoles. I use magnifier on PC. And then actually, believe it or not, I use the Logitech, and this is just not because this is a Logitech thing, but I use a Logitech G915 keyboard that lights up and makes it so much easier for me to be able to see which keys that I need to be able to press. The next question I have actually for the three of you is, what is one thing that you think needs to change for the game industry to become a more inclusive space? And Jay, why don't we start off with you?
Only one thing, Steve?
I mean, you could expand if you like. I totally would. I would be okay with that. That's a house rule. Moderator says yes, you can have more than one thing, one or more.
Definitely make sure that they are creating a safe and welcoming work environment, that people know that they don't have to give in to, negative behaviors because they feel like they're going to lose their job. Like that's a lot of what contributes to the burnout in marginalized genders and races and abilities in the gaming industry, is the knowledge that this is my one chance. If I screw up, everyone like me is going to be judged, and I'm going to make sure they never hire another Black woman again. So I have to work as hard as I can to make a good space here, and I have to pull up my whole community with me when I get here. Like there's so much pressure on marginalized people, especially in the video game industry. So I feel like we need to create a space that removes at least some of that burden, so that you can just go there with your talent and be talented and get the job done. But it's all institutionalized and it's all very, very difficult to break through. So I know it's going to take some time, but that's really what needs to be done, is to just put everything out in the open, make people understand that we're not going to have this anymore. Like we just need to have someone in power go, okay, we're cleaning house. Anybody with, the complaints about them being racist or transphobic, homophobic, you got in the boot, and we're going to hire somebody to replace you who uses they, them, or she pronouns, and you're going to like it. Like, so yeah, I think a lot of the problems is that people who get to those high ranks have done it by like not having their eyes open, because you don't get promoted if you talk. You don't get promoted if if you prove that you care more about equity than you do about the bottom line. And if you do, God bless you. We know how hard you had to work to do that. Like that's amazing. So not to sell out every CEO in the world, but like quite a few of them. And I'm sorry, again, I could go on for days about this. I love this topic so much, and I just want to see everyone succeed regardless of what marginalizations they may or may not have. So that's it.
I mean, if we didn't have a time limit, I would just keep saying preach. Please. Chris, what about you?
Oh man. Okay, so I mean, I agree with everything that was just said, 100%. But I want them to see the big picture. And in this case, the big picture is we are just trying to just make accessibility more standard, basically, more standard, just for everybody from here on out, from this point forward. You know, back in the day, we would have very few, almost no accessibility, maybe no settings that you could change. But now we have a new opportunity. We can do better. We can improve things. We don't have to have these tiny incremental improvements. We can have big improvements. And how developers can help is they can just upfront tell people what's in the game. Let's talk about the settings before the game comes out, especially if a game is going to be releasing soon. You know, they can show us what's in the game before we buy it. You know, because it's like I said, you know, for example, like deaf. Like if we look at deaf, I mean, just having deaf access options, what does that even mean? There's like all these other things it could mean. I think they should have deaf people. They should have people who have visual disabilities consulting. They should have mobility consultants, cognitive consultants. I mean, there's all these different tracks you could go down for accessibility. You should have all these tracks included. And really what it boils down to, and again, we're not attacking, like you guys said, we're not attacking. We are asking, what is in your game? We just want to know, can I play this? I just, you know, I don't want to wait until after it's released. And then the hype is already come and gone, you know, like we didn't get a part of that. So it would help a lot to have this early conversation ahead of time, especially with these different communities.
Real quick hot take. Every game studio should have an accessibility director who's always there all the time. And then that person can hire consultants at will, but there should at least be one. Just saying.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, I think, I mean, you all have said amazing answers, and I 100% agree with you all. I mean, we need to be able to have a more inclusive space in the industry, not only just for accessibility, but also, yeah, people of color, LGBTQIA. Like, we need to be able to have it so that people can feel like they can be able to escape into video games, because that's what video games, like when they do their best, is like we can be able to escape into a world that we feel like feel so powerful, whether it's taking on a dragon or taking on a legion of like super enhanced electronic kind of cyborgs in our favorite Commander Shepard, USS Normandy. So I totally agree. And I think that to even jump on to what Chris said, I think knowing what accessibility is going to be in games ahead of time is great. But then also, I think even on the media side, being able to know in reviews, like have accessibility part of reviews and previews, and having that be like part of that coverage would also help studios to be able to realize that, oh, definitely people want this. And people want to be able to enjoy it, and people want to be able to know more about it. And they're starting to kind of come around, but there really is still a lot of work that needs to be done to be able to report on that and talk about it, but also feel free to talk about it and talk about it in the right way that feels inclusive, and it doesn't sort of feel like it's just, oh, these are just the settings that are there and this benefits accessibility because of this. And in reality, all you're talking about is just the graphic settings on a PC. And I'm like, that's not really accessibility. Sure, a little bit, but whatever. So I think that definitely would need to be changed. And just, yeah. And again, just echoing what everyone was saying. Thank you so much, Jay, Kennedy, and Chris. Thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. If you're interested to know more about what Logitech G is doing in the accessibility space, you can be able to check out not only the adaptive kit that they have that works with the Xbox adaptive controller, but you can also find out about the Logitech G adaptive esports tournament that they have on right now. Details for all of those at logitechg.com. Thank you once again to our panelists today, and thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next time. And you know what? As we love to be able to say at Logitech, keep playing. Take care.